Hey everyone, Olivia here. And guess what? I am just bursting with excitement because something absolutely hilarious popped into my head out of the blue. I was just making a cup of tea, staring out the window, and bam! This memory hit me like a ton of bricks. It's a story from when I was, I think, maybe 7 or 8 years old, and honestly, you will not believe what happened. It involves a talent show, a very enthusiastic rendition of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and a slight wardrobe malfunction, let's just say. I was so mortified at the time, I wanted the earth to swallow me whole, but looking back now? Oh my goodness, it's pure comedy gold. I can still feel the heat rising in my cheeks just thinking about it. I was so determined to be a star, you know? And, you know what? In a way, I kind of was. It's one of those memories that just makes me smile from ear to ear. I can't wait to share it with you. So, let's begin our exciting journey of English improvement together. And remember, new videos are released daily focusing on English speaking and listening skills to help you improve and enjoy your learning journey. Hi everyone, I'm Olivia. There's something so calming about making things with your own hands, don't you think? I remember one particularly blustery autumn afternoon, the kind where the leaves swirl outside like dancers in a rusty-colored ballet. I was sitting in my kitchen, the kettle whistling a gentle tune on the stovetop, and a feeling of restless creativity was bubbling inside me. I'd been wanting to make something, anything, for weeks. The usual suspects knitting, painting, weren't quite hitting the spot. Then, while scrolling through Pinterest, as one does, I stumbled upon these gorgeous, rustic-looking candle holders made from repurposed jars. Something about their simplicity and warmth clicked. It felt like the perfect project for a windswept afternoon. Luckily, I had a cupboard full of old jam jars, just waiting for a second life. I gathered them onto the counter, along with some twine, cinnamon sticks, dried orange slices, and a glue gun that I hadn't used since a particularly ambitious, and ultimately disastrous, crafting spree in middle school. The warm light filtering through the kitchen window illuminated the collection, casting a cozy glow on the scene. As the rain pattered against the window pane, I started to work. I wrapped the twine around each jar, carefully gluing it down, enjoying the satisfyingly tactile process. The scent of cinnamon filled the air as I began gluing the sticks and dried orange slices, creating little autumnal landscapes on the glass. Then came the tricky part. I wanted to add a small, delicate wire handle to one of the jars, so I could hang it from a hook in the kitchen. This, it turned out, was easier said than done. The wire I had was stubborn and wouldn't bend into the graceful curve I envisioned. Instead, it jutted out at awkward angles, making the jar look more like a lopsided robot than a charming candle holder. Frustration began to creep in. I almost gave up, ready to toss the offending wire across the room. But then, I took a deep breath, reminded myself that this was supposed to be relaxing, and decided to try a different approach. I rummaged through my toolbox and found a pair of pliers. With a little more control and a bit of patience, I was able to coax the wire into a much more pleasing shape. Finally, after a couple of hours, my little collection of candle holders was complete. I placed a tea light in each one and lit them, watching the flickering flames dance against the glass, the warm light casting dancing shadows on the walls. The kitchen felt instantly transformed into a cozy haven. That afternoon, curled up on the sofa with a mug of tea and a good book, surrounded by the soft glow of my handmade candle holders, I felt a profound sense of contentment. It wasn't just the finished product that brought me joy, but the process itself, the quiet focus, the creative exploration, the small triumph over a stubborn piece of wire. It reminded me that sometimes, the simplest things can bring the most profound sense of peace. And who knows, maybe next time I'll even try making those knitted blankets again. Hi, everyone. I'm Sophia, and I have a story I'd love to share. It's about a day that started ordinary but unfolded into something quite special, a day filled with the quiet joy of art. Picture a crisp autumn afternoon. I was sitting at a park bench, the kind with slightly chipped green paint, watching the leaves twirl down like tiny dancers. I had a thermos of chamomile tea and a half-eaten apple beside me, just enjoying the gentle hum of the city around me. I'd been feeling a bit restless lately, a little out of sorts, and this quiet moment in the park was my attempt at grounding myself. Suddenly, a flyer tucked under the bench caught my eye. Local artists. Exhibition. Free entry. An art gallery? I hadn't been to one in ages. It felt like the universe nudging me towards something I hadn't realized I was missing. A little spark of excitement flickered within me, chasing away the restlessness. I finished my apple, tossed the core in the nearby bin, and decided, on a whim, to follow that little spark. The gallery was nestled in a quiet side street, a little gem hidden amongst bustling shops. Inside, the atmosphere was hushed and reverent, a stark contrast to the lively street outside. Sunlight streamed in through large windows, illuminating the paintings in a soft, warm glow. Each piece seemed to breathe, whispering stories of landscapes, portraits, and abstract emotions. I wandered slowly, taking my time with each piece. There were vibrant oil paintings that pulsed with life, delicate watercolors that whispered secrets, and bold sculptures that seemed to challenge the very air around them. I found myself captivated by a small, unassuming painting tucked away in a corner. It was a simple depiction of a woman sitting by a window, a single cup of tea steaming beside her. The light in the painting was so incredibly realistic, I felt like I could almost feel the warmth of the sun on my skin. And then came the dilemma. A tiny card beside the painting indicated it was for sale. It wasn't exorbitantly priced, but it was still a significant chunk of my monthly budget. I debated with myself, circling the painting like a nervous moth. Did I really need it? Was it just a fleeting infatuation? Could I justify the expense? I sat on a nearby bench, the quiet hum of the gallery amplifying my thoughts. I thought about the feeling of restlessness I'd had earlier in the park, and how looking at this painting had brought a sense of calm, a quiet joy that I hadn't felt in a while. It was more than just a painting, it was a reminder of the simple pleasures, the quiet moments that truly nourish the soul. In the end, I decided to buy it. It felt a little reckless, a little impulsive, but utterly right. As I walked out of the gallery, the painting carefully cradled in my arms, I felt a profound sense of peace. The afternoon light felt warmer, the city sounds less jarring. It was as if the little spark of excitement I had felt earlier had bloomed into a gentle, steady flame. That painting now hangs in my living room, a constant reminder of that quiet afternoon and the joy of discovering beauty in unexpected places. It reminds me that sometimes it's okay to follow those little sparks, those little nudges from the universe, because they might just lead you to something truly special. And who knows, maybe I'll find another little gem on my next park bench adventure. Learning a new language, especially English, can feel like climbing a mountain, but you know what? It's totally doable, and honestly, it can be so much fun. Challenge yourself to be heard, not perfect. This thought has really helped me, and I think it will resonate with you too. It takes the pressure off needing to sound like a native speaker right away and allows you to focus on simply communicating and connecting, which is the heart of language learning. It empowers you to embrace those little stumbles as stepping stones, not setbacks. And guess what? There's a super simple way to practice every day. Try telling a joke and acting out the reactions. Imagine you're cooking dinner and telling your family a silly joke. You get to practice pronunciation, intonation, and even body language, all while having a good laugh. It's easy, it's fun, and you can do it anywhere, anytime. You will not believe how much it can boost your confidence. Do you also find yourself understanding what others say in English online, but hesitate when it's your turn to speak? I know that feeling. Participating in online discussions, even just reading and following along, can be incredibly beneficial. It exposes you to different accents and communication styles, builds vocabulary, and gradually eases that hesitation to jump in. It's like a virtual immersion experience, preparing you for real-world conversations. Speaking of which, language learning can have its ups and downs. I remember once feeling so frustrated I almost gave up. It's part of the journey. And you know what? That's why I want to ask, how do you stay motivated when English language learning gets tough? Sharing our tips and tricks can be a real game changer, and I'm excited to hear what works for you. Hi everyone, I'm Emma, and I have a story to share about a rather charming defeat, my first chess game. It happened on a breezy Saturday afternoon in our local park, the kind of day where the sunlight filters through the leaves, dappling everything in a mosaic of light and shadow. I was perched on a park bench, idly watching kids chase pigeons, when my grandpa, a twinkle in his eye, pulled a small, wooden chessboard from his bag. "Fancy a game, Emma?" he asked, his voice warm with amusement. Now, I'd seen chess played before, usually in movies where brooding intellectuals moved pieces with an air of intense concentration. I knew absolutely nothing about the game, apart from the vague notion that it involved strategy. "Sure," I chirped, trying to sound more confident than I felt. The board was set up, the polished pieces gleaming in the afternoon sun. Grandpa patiently explained the basic moves of each piece, his explanations punctuated by the gentle rustling of leaves and the distant laughter of children. My initial strategy, if you could call it that, was pure chaos. I moved pieces with a reckless abandon, driven by a mixture of excitement and utter bewilderment. My knights hopped around like over-caffeinated grasshoppers, my rooks lumbered forward with no clear purpose, and my queen, well, she seemed to be on a sightseeing tour of the board. Grandpa, with his calm demeanor and knowing smile, patiently countered my every move. My little army was slowly but surely dwindling. Pawns disappeared, knights were captured, and my rooks met their demise with surprising swiftness. I furrowed my brow, trying to decipher the patterns, the hidden logic beneath the moves. It was like trying to understand a language I'd never heard before, a captivating puzzle I couldn't quite solve. The key moment arrived when I had the chance to capture Grandpa's queen. I could almost taste victory. My hand hovered over my knight, ready to pounce. But then, just as I was about to make my move, Grandpa chuckled. "Think carefully, Emma," he said, his eyes twinkling. I looked again at the board. If I took his queen, his rook would be perfectly positioned to checkmate my king on the next move. My heart sank a little. It was a trap. I retreated my knight, opting for a less glorious but more strategic move. Grandpa nodded approvingly. The game continued for a little while longer, but the writing was on the wall. Eventually, checkmate. My king was cornered, defeated. "Good game, Emma," Grandpa said, his smile warm and genuine. "You almost had me there for a second." He winked. I grinned, a mixture of frustration and elation bubbling inside me. Even though I'd lost, I felt a strange sense of accomplishment. I had learned something new, faced a challenge, and even managed a tiny bit of strategic thinking amidst the chaos. As we packed up the chessboard, the sun began to dip below the trees, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. I walked home that day feeling lighter than air, my mind already replaying the game, analyzing my moves, and strategizing for the next one. It might sound silly, but that first chess game in the park felt like a doorway to a whole new world, a world of intricate strategies, silent battles, and the quiet satisfaction of a well-played move. I had a feeling this wouldn't be my last checkmate. Hi everyone, I'm Olivia. Come, sit with me for a bit. I have a story I'd love to share. It's about a neighborhood festival, the kind that warms you from the inside out, like a mug of hot cocoa on a chilly evening. It was a Saturday afternoon, the sun a hazy gold sinking towards the horizon, painting the sky in shades of apricot and rose. I was on my porch swing, gently swaying back and forth, the rhythmic creak a familiar lullaby. The air hummed with anticipation, you could almost taste the excitement. Our annual neighborhood festival was just hours away. Every year, Oak Street transformed. Bunting draped across lampposts fluttered in the breeze, the air thick with the scent of grilling burgers and blooming jasmine. Kids shrieked with laughter as they chased each other, their faces painted with fantastical designs. It was a tapestry of sound, color, and community, the kind of scene that made your heart swell. This year, I'd promised Mrs. Henderson, our sweet, but slightly scatterbrained, neighbor, that I'd help her with her legendary lemonade stand. Mrs. Henderson's lemonade was famous, a secret recipe passed down through generations, tart and sweet in perfect harmony. People lined up for blocks just to get a taste. But there was a hitch. Just as I was about to head over, a sudden downpour started. Fat raindrops splattered on the porch, turning the dusty street into a shimmering river. My heart sank. The festival. Mrs. Henderson. What were we going to do? I grabbed my umbrella and dashed across the street, the rain plastering my hair to my face. I found Mrs. Henderson frantically trying to cover her lemonade stand with a flimsy tablecloth, her face etched with worry. "Oh, Olivia, dear. What are we going to do?" she cried, her voice laced with panic. "Don't worry, Mrs. Henderson," I reassured her, squeezing her hand. "We'll figure something out." And we did. We moved the lemonade stand inside her garage, threw open the doors, and strung fairy lights around the entrance. The warm glow spilling out into the rainy twilight created an even more magical atmosphere. People huddled together, sipping lemonade and sharing stories, the rain drumming a gentle rhythm on the garage roof. That night, despite the unexpected weather, the festival felt more intimate, more connected. We were all huddled together, sharing a little warmth, a little laughter, a little bit of Mrs. Henderson's magic. The rain, initially a threat, had brought us closer. Later, as I walked home, the rain having softened to a drizzle, I thought about how often we worry about things we can't control. Sometimes, the unexpected detours, the little hiccups, lead to something even more beautiful, more meaningful. Maybe, just maybe, the best memories are made when plans go slightly awry. And who knows, maybe next year we'll have a rainy day lemonade stand tradition. The thought made me smile. Hey everyone. Learning a new language can feel like climbing a mountain, right? But remember this. The more you try, the closer you get to your dreams. Think about it. Every word you learn, every sentence you speak, it's a step forward. It's a step closer to fluency, closer to connecting with new people and experiences. And honestly, the journey itself is so rewarding. You discover so much about yourself along the way. You've got this. You know what I've been doing lately? Reading travel blogs aloud. It's such a fun and easy way to practice speaking. I'll often grab my coffee, find a blog about somewhere I dream of visiting, and just start reading out loud. It's like I'm already there, describing the sights and sounds. Sometimes I even do it while cooking dinner, multitasking at its finest. It's amazing how much it helps with pronunciation and fluency without feeling like study time. Do you also find yourself understanding what others say in English, but hesitate when it's your turn to speak? It's so common. Sometimes I feel embarrassed to ask someone to repeat themselves, even though I know it's okay. It's like my brain understands, but my mouth needs a little catch-up. I'm sure many of you can relate to that feeling of wanting to participate but holding back just a little. It's all part of the process, though. And you know what? Pronunciation is something I've been thinking about a lot recently. I was listening to someone speak the other day and was so impressed with how clearly they spoke. It reminded me how important pronunciation is for clear communication. What's your favorite way to practice pronunciation in your native language? I'd love to hear your tips and tricks. Sharing ideas is so helpful. Let me know in the comments below. Hi there, I'm Sophia, and I wanted to share a little slice of my Saturday morning with you. Picture this. I'm curled up on my porch swing, a mug of chamomile tea warming my hands, the late afternoon sun dappling through the leaves of the old oak tree in my yard. The air is still humming with the energy of the day, a day spent at the farmer's market, and the memory of it makes me smile. Earlier, the morning air was crisp and cool, the kind that wakes you right up. Dew clung to the grass, sparkling like tiny diamonds. I threw on a cozy sweater and headed downtown, the promise of fresh produce and the vibrant buzz of the market pulling me along. There's something about the atmosphere of a farmer's market, the colorful stalls overflowing with bounty, the chatter of vendors and shoppers, the smell of freshly baked bread mingling with the sweet scent of ripe peaches, that just fills me with a sense of calm contentment. I wandered through the aisles, taking my time. Ruby red strawberries tumbled from their baskets, plump tomatoes glowed in the sunlight, and bunches of fragrant herbs practically begged to be taken home. I chatted with Mr. Henderson about his incredible heirloom tomatoes, sampled a sliver of creamy goat cheese from a local farm, and inhaled the earthy aroma of freshly dug potatoes. Everything looked so vibrant, so alive. My canvas tote bag started to fill up quickly, a loaf of sourdough still warm from the oven, a jar of local honey, a bunch of kale that looked like it had just been plucked from the earth. And then I saw them, the peaches. Perfect, golden orbs, with a blush of pink on one side. I've always had a weakness for peaches, especially in the summertime. The vendor, a kind woman with a sun-weathered face, let me sample one. The juice dribbled down my chin, sweet and fragrant. It tasted like sunshine and summer vacations all rolled into one. I wanted to buy a whole box, but I hesitated. My fridge was already pretty full, and I knew I'd have to eat them quickly before they went bad. It felt almost wasteful to buy so many. I stood there for a moment, torn. I could practically feel the warmth of the sun on those peaches, the soft fuzz against my fingertips. The vendor, sensing my dilemma, smiled. "Tell you what, dear," she said, her voice warm and reassuring. "How about half a box? And I'll throw in a couple extra, just for you." Her generosity and understanding melted away my hesitation. "Perfect," I replied, a wave of relief washing over me. I happily paid, my tote bag now delightfully heavy. As I sit here now, the market's hustle and bustle a distant memory, I'm slicing one of those perfect peaches. The sweet aroma fills my kitchen, and I'm transported back to that bustling morning. The little dilemma over the peaches now seems insignificant, but it reminded me that sometimes, the simplest things can bring the most joy. And who knows, maybe next Saturday, I'll go back for that full box after all. Hi there, I'm Emma. Let me tell you about a quiet Sunday afternoon that turned into a little kitchen adventure. Picture this. Sunlight streaming through my kitchen window, a gentle breeze rustling the leaves of the maple tree outside, and me, in my comfiest slippers, feeling an unusual urge to make granola. Now, I'm not exactly known for my culinary prowess. My usual breakfast routine involves grabbing a yogurt and dashing out the door. But that Sunday, something was different. Maybe it was the calming rhythm of the rain the night before, or perhaps the enticing smell of cinnamon wafting from my neighbor's apartment. Whatever it was, I found myself standing in front of my pantry, contemplating the possibilities of oats. I pulled out a dusty cookbook inherited from my grandma, flipped to the dog-eared granola page, and started gathering ingredients. Oats, obviously. Almonds, because who doesn't love almonds? Some sunflower seeds for a bit of crunch. Then came the spices, cinnamon, ginger, a pinch of nutmeg, and a dash of cardamom because I was feeling adventurous. The kitchen slowly filled with the warm, earthy aroma of the spices, and I felt a surprising sense of calm wash over me. Now, here's where things got a little tricky. The recipe called for maple syrup, but I only had honey. A dilemma. I paced back and forth, cookbook in hand, wrestling with the age-old question, to substitute or not to substitute? My inner baking novice panicked. What if I ruined the whole batch? What if it ended up tasting like burnt toast with honey? I took a deep breath, reminding myself that this was supposed to be a relaxing Sunday activity, not a high-stakes baking competition. Trusting my gut, and my somewhat limited baking knowledge, I went ahead with the honey. I mixed everything together, spread the mixture on a baking sheet, and popped it into the oven. Then came the hardest part, waiting. Every few minutes, I'd peek through the oven door, anxiously watching the oats transform from a pale, sticky mess into golden, crunchy clusters. The moment I pulled the granola out of the oven, the kitchen was filled with the most incredible toasted nut and honey fragrance. I let it cool completely, a true test of patience, then broke apart the clusters and poured myself a bowl with some creamy yogurt and fresh berries. That first bite? Pure heaven. It was crunchy, sweet, and perfectly spiced. It wasn't exactly like Grandma's granola, but it had its own unique charm. It was my granola, and in that moment, sitting at my kitchen table, bathed in the warm afternoon sunlight, I felt a quiet sense of accomplishment. It wasn't just about the granola. It was about taking a chance, trusting my instincts, and creating something delicious out of ordinary ingredients. Maybe next weekend I'll try making my own bread. Or maybe I'll just stick with the granola. Either way, I know one thing for sure. There's a lot of joy to be found in simple kitchen adventures. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with me and staying connected throughout the video. It really means a lot. I always love sharing these moments with you. If you enjoyed this and want to keep up with our daily English speaking and listening practice, do follow, like, subscribe, and share so you never miss out on new content. You know, before we go, it made me wonder, any long-distance friend you're missing today? It is always so lovely to hear what everyone is thinking about, and sharing in the comments is a great way to practice writing in English and connect with others who might be feeling the same way. See you tomorrow, everyone. Take good care of yourselves, stay consistent, and keep practicing.